Well, hey there, welcome to Hiker Homily number 49. And we're getting close to the end of the year. And so, first and foremost, happy holidays. And I'm not trying to be politically correct there. I say happy holidays because, at least in my household, we celebrate multiple holidays within a couple of week period here at the end of the year. So, if you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you celebrate Yule, joyous Yule. Happy New Year. And there are several others in there. Just have a good holiday season. Hope things are going well for you. Not bad for me. I got some pretty good holiday gifts. I'll put a picture up here. To help me on the trail with a couple of things. And, I'll be showing those later in my, PCT gear videos and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, pretty good. Good holiday so far. Great having my daughter home from college and having both the kids back in the house again and the whole family together. It's nice. So, big one there. And real quick for Hiker Homily, I wanted to do one. I've been saying I'm going to do it for a while because it's quite a little tale. How I got into backpacking, or basically my first backpacking trip ever. I ended up at a summer camp, and to preface that, I moved from San Jose to a town called Pleasanton, which is about around 30 minutes north, depending on how traffic is nowadays in the Bay Area. 30 minutes north of San Jose. Just over the hill from a bigger city, Bay Area city called Hayward. And at the time, Pleasanton was a small town, just kind of nestled over the hill. The Bay Area was, over the hills, basically, into Hayward, Oakland, that area. And we were kind of separate. It's kind of grown together by now, but back then they were kind of separated by the hills, and it was just a little town. And I was a little nervous about moving to a new town, going into the 8th grade. At that age, I had made friends in San Jose and things like that, but I got into the schools there near Pleasanton and things, and I made some new friends, and all that went well. And so that's why when my younger brother came home with news of this summer camp that was starting up, the people who ran the science camp for the school area there, the school district in that area, had just started a brand new summer camp. This was going to be their first summer doing it. And so they were advertising to all the schools, to try and get kids to come and things like that. My brother wanted to go. They must have given one heck of a awesome sales pitch, because my brother was really excited about it. Well, the problem was, because my brother was at the time only in the 4th grade, my mom didn't think he could go by himself, so that meant Big Brother Todd had to go with him. Big Brother Todd wasn't happy about that at all, let me tell you that, because I had just made new friends in town, and being gone for a whole week would just ruin everything. My friends would forget me, and all this kind of stuff. So, to try to shorten the story without rambling too much, I went kicking and screaming. I did not want to go to this camp, but my brother and I ended up being part of a group, the first session of the first year of the summer camp Exploring New Horizons, which we called ENH, and it was amazing. Let me just put it that way. For myself, I became the next year, I was so into it, I became a CIT, a counselor in training, and within a couple of years, I had done that several times, been fully trained in their own program. I had done science camp as a counselor, and so that by, I think, about their 4th year, pretty close to my senior year in high school, I actually was hired, and I lived up there in the Truckee area. The actual camp was in Soda Springs. I actually lived there for the whole summer on staff as the assistant to the guy who ran the CIT program. So I was his assistant helping run the CIT program. And it was a camp that changed my life in many ways. My outlook on planet Earth, for one thing, and also that is the camp that I met my wife at. So it was a life-changing thing. I went into it kicking and screaming, but came out of it absolutely loving it. And to this day, I can't say thank you enough to Gary Nightingale and Laura Tucker, who ran that camp, because their camp literally changed my life in the most positive ways imaginable. And in one of those ways, it was with backpacking, but probably not in the way that they probably would have wanted it. I mean, I got into backpacking, so that's something I think that they'd be fine with. But unfortunately, let me tell you about that first backpacking trip. Being at the time an 8th grader, I had gotten into fantasy literature. I discovered writers like Tolkien and things like that. And this whole concept of this journey, you know, in the Tolkien saga, it's, you know, this journey to destroy the ring. But I mean, they're going across the countryside and through the woods and all these adventures. That just sparked my mind. Amazing. So imagine me getting to this camp and realizing that there's a thing called backpacking where you really can do it. I mean, there's no dragons and stuff out there, but you can put everything that keeps you alive on your back, your tent and everything. And because I had done camping and everything all through my childhood, a lot of our vacations were camping in a lot of neat areas. So, wow, you can put all that stuff on your back instead of in a trailer or in a station wagon, and you carry it out into the woods. That's straight up adventure right there. And so that's what I did. The only problem is because I had never been backpacking before, I had no backpacking equipment. So the camp fortunately had some extra frame backpacks that they loaned out to campers to go on these backpack trips. So I had a backpack. I packed my blue jeans, denim, and whatever shirt I had brought with me to camp. And the sleeping bag I had was an old cloth sleeping bag. Yes. And things like that, and the camp was providing the food and things, and you know, water bottles and stuff like that. So a lot of my gear was borrowed, and the few things that weren't borrowed really were not made for backpacking. They were heavy, and they were. But I was going on an adventure. I wanted to try it, so I strapped this old cloth thing to my backpack that I had borrowed, and we hit the road. Well, we got a couple of miles into our journey, and our hike was only going to be like 5-6 miles, and it wasn't going to be, you know, a whole lot of hill climbing and stuff. It was an easy one. It was for beginners. Well, it started to pour down rain. Yes. And if you remember, I have a cloth sleeping bag, and I had wrapped it in plastic because they knew there was possibly some rain and stuff like that. But I wasn't pro at it at the time, and so water got in there, and so my cloth sleeping bag started getting wet, which means it's getting heavier, and I'm going to have to sleep in that later and stuff like that. And we finally get to where we're going to camp by the side of Lake Mary, and I'm paired up with another beginner who was there at camp, and neither one of us had a tent, and so we were given by the camp a large plastic tarp. So we're going to make a tarp tent, and the counselor with us showed us how to do it. You know, we string a rope across, and it gets laid over that, and we form this triangle, and we have, you know, closed at one end and all this kind of stuff, and hey, you know, the two of us have a pretty decent 2-man tent and things like that. So I get in that night, and I like the food. It was, you know, all that was good, was very good. But the whole time it's raining. You know, it goes from light rain to heavier rain, but it never really stops raining. So this entire backpack trip, it is just coming down on us, and I don't have the equipment for rain. I just really don't. Get into my tent where I hope to be warm. But I know I'm not going to be dry because my cloth sleeping bag is wet in spots where it got through the plastic. So I get in there and it's okay and things like that. We fall asleep. We wake up in the middle of the night, and both me and my tent partner are just drenched because this is a plastic tarp. It's not really a tent. There's no breathing, and so condensation has formed. Not to mention we're getting some rain that's coming in and things like that. And so we are soaking wet. Fortunately, we are not too cold because it was a summer night. It was a summer storm in the Sierras. I tell you what. So basically, my first backpack trip, anything that could go wrong pretty much did, except for heavy safety things. Nobody got hurt, nobody got sick, any of that kind of thing. But as far as like equipment failures, oh yeah, they were all in there. So my first backpack trip, by most accounts, would be pretty miserable for most people. I mean, a wet sleeping bag that was twice as heavy when wet that I had to carry, and all that kind of stuff, and the condensation and the plastic tarp tent, and just constantly raining. But I tell you what, I came back from that trip having felt that I really did have an amazing adventure, and I just wanted to do more backpacking. And I came home from that camp talking about it so much that my Christmas present that year was a old JanSport frame pack. My parents went to a sporting goods store and got me a JanSport backpack, the old frame packs, and I used that sucker for years. I still have it. I have it in my garage stored. It could go on a trip if I needed it to. It's lasted that long. It's in that kind of shape. But I used it so much, just all over for the next few years. I totally got into it. So, and that's just kind of the story there. My first backpack trip was not this amazing, holy mackerel, this is just totally incredible. It was kind of a nightmare trip, but at my age, I didn't care. I considered it a adventure, and I've had the backpacking bug ever since. And that's the same camp that I was first introduced to the Pacific Crest Trail. I didn't know what the heck that was until one night, and I'll tell that story in some different videos, but that's my first backpacking trip. Anyone else out there who wants to comment what your first trip was, if it went without a hitch, or if you had problems too, things like that, let me know. As usual, comments down below, or on Instagram, Facebook page that I have, all Hiking for Health CA, or hikingforhealthca@gmail.com. You can get a hold of me there, and if anybody wants to comment on that kind of stuff. Other than that, hey, that's Hiker Homily number 49, and I'm going to get back to training. It's a little chilly out here. Hopefully with the sun out, it'll get a little bit warmer, and I'll get back out there and get a walk in today, get some miles in. I'm doing miles every day if I can. And when I can, I go to the hills. You'll be seeing some hike reports coming soon for those. But other than that, thanks so much for watching. I always appreciate it. We'll see you next time.